Okay, so we have a lesson on similar triangles today. Okay, let's have a look at these two questions to start off with. So if we look at question 1, then we can see that we have two triangles and they are similar because this angle here is the same as this angle here. These two angles are the same size, and therefore this angle is the same size, which means that these triangles have the same shape but they are a different size, and we've got to work out what the sides will be. Okay, so we need to find what the multiplying factor is, and I like to put an arrow in the direction from the smallest to the biggest, and we simply compare the two sides that we know. In this case it's this 12 and this 10, so the multiplying factor is 12 over 10, the biggest by the smallest, and I'm just going to simplify that to 6 over 5. Okay, so we're going to find x, which corresponds to this side here. So the work we're going to do is 5 times 6 over 5 gives us x. Now 5 times 6 over 5, the 5 and the 5 cancel each other out, so x must be 6. Okay, to find y, we're going to look at the corresponding side, which is that one there. So we have y times the multiplying factor, which is 6 over 5, and that equals 9. Just do a little bit of maths here. We're going to divide both sides by 6 over 5, which of course is the same as multiplying by 5 over 6. I'm just going to put it here. 9 over 6 is 3 over 2, which is 1.5. So it's 1.5 times 5, and 1.5 times 5 is 7.5. The quick way of doing that would be to say take 5 and then a half of that, which is 2.5, and add them together to give 7.5. Okay, question 3. Again, we notice that that angle is the same size as that. It corresponds to that. This angle corresponds to this. They are the same size. It's not shown, but this angle must also be the same size. So these triangles are said to be similar because they have the same shape, though they are different sizes. I want to find what that multiplying factor is. So again, I'm going to go from the smallest to the biggest triangle, and we just look at the size of the biggest side that we know, which corresponds to the smallest side, and so the multiplying factor for the sides is 5 over 3. Okay, we've been asked to find x, and we know that the biggest side is 8, so we can say that x times 5 over 3 must give us 8, which if we divide by 5 over 3, which is the same as multiplying by 3/5, and that there is, so x is 24 over 5, and that is 4.8. Okay, to find y, we want to look at the corresponding side, and the corresponding side is 10. So now we know that y times 5 over 3 is equal to 10. So let's divide by 5 over 3, which we know is the same as multiplying by 3/5, and that gives us 6. 3/5 of 10 is 6. Okay, let's look at question 6. Actually, we won't do question 4 because it's similar to the other questions. We're going to do question 6. Now, question 6 here, we notice that they're orientated in a different way. So I'm going to redraw question 6. Okay, so This is that side, that's the 4.5. This is this triangle here. This is 6.75 and this is 9. Okay, so that there must be 4, this must be x, and this must be y. So we want to find what the multiplying factor is, and that multiplying factor, we need to compare the corresponding size of the two sides that we know. I'm going to show this as a multiplication. So to get from the smaller to the bigger, we must multiply by 9/4, the bigger side divided by the smaller side. So our multiplying factor every time is going to be 9/4. So to find x, we multiply by 9/4, and that gives us 4.5. So that's x is equal to 4.5 divided by 9/4. Now 4.5 is 9/2. And we don't divide by 9/4, we multiply by 4/9, and we notice that the 9's cancel out and the 2 goes into 4 and the 2, so x must equal 2. Okay, to find y, we know that we must multiply by 9/4, and that's going to give us 6.75. So we want to divide by 9/4. So y is equal to 6.75 times 4/9. Now I'm just going to convert 6.74. Now just to do that, just to check with everyone, 6.74 is 6 3/4, and that's 6 times 4 is 24, 27/4. So it's 27/4 times 4/9. Notice the 4's cancel out, and the 9 and the 27 gives us 3. Okay, now this is a little bit more tricky. So we have, do we have similar triangles? Well, let's have a look. Notice we have, well actually let me just draw parallel lines, because these are parallel. And I'm just going to extend that like that, extend it like that, like that. And can we see that that there is a Z angle? So those two angles are the same. This here is a Z angle with this one. So they are the same, and these two angles are vertically opposite. And they are the same as well. I'm just going to put 3 there. So these triangles are the same shape, they just have different sizes. So I'm going to redraw them, and I think this is the most important thing with this question. I'm going to redraw them like this. Okay, so this is the smaller side, this is the 8. Okay, so that's that one there, and that's that one there, and that's the 3, that's the 3, and this must be the 2. So that's the correct orientation. We just need to label. So if we notice, this goes from the 1 up to the 3, so that's the 1 up to the 3, so that must be x. And equally, the 1 up to the 3 is the 6, and so this must be y, and this must be 4. Okay, if you notice, they're not drawn to scale. They don't need to be. So let's find the multiplying factor. The biggest side is 8 and the smaller side is 3, so the multiplying factor is 8/3. Okay, so now we can find the value of x. So x times 8/3 gives us 6. So we're comparing corresponding sides, and so we divide by 8/3, which is the same as multiplying by 3/8, I'm going to write this slightly differently. Actually, I'm going to write this 6/8 times 3, which is 3/4 of 3, and 3/4 of 3 is 9/4, which is 2.25. Okay, so now we're going to find the value of y. I'll put it here actually. So y times 4, no, that's not correct. So y times 8/3 is equal to 4, and divide by 8/3, which is the same as multiplying by 3/8. 4 and 8 make 1 and 2, so it's going to be 3/2, which is 1.5. Okay, this one's a tricky question, but we're going to approach it in the same way. So it's indicated here that these two lines are parallel, which means that so let me just show you actually what we've got. We've got this triangle, which is, and then we've got the bigger version of the same thing. So this is 5, this is x, this is 7.5. Now this is 8. Can you see that's 5 plus 3 is 8? And this is 6 here, and this one here is 7.5 plus y. Okay, so what's the multiplying factor? Well, let's check out the 5 and the 8. They're the corresponding sides, so the multiplying factor is 8/5. So x is fairly straightforward. We just multiply by 8/5, and that gives us 6. So let's divide by 8/5, which is the same as multiplying by 5/8, which is the same as 3/4 times 5, just coming up here, which is 15/4, so x is 3 3/4. Alright, it is 3.75. Okay, so this next part involves a little bit of algebraic manipulation. It's up to you really how you do this. Just be careful, I guess. So it's 7.5 times 8/5, and that equals 7.5 plus y. I'm actually going to manipulate this left hand side first. So 7.5 is 15/2 times 8/5 equals, and I'm going to write 7.5 again as 15/2 plus y. I'm going to do this multiplication here. So 5 goes into 5 once, goes into that 3 times, 2 goes into itself once, and into that 4 times. So that gives us 12 equals, actually no, I'll put it back to 7.5 plus y. So y is equal to 4.5.